Okay, today I wanted to talk to you about post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, our military veterans, 15% of them are coming back from serving the United States government, military, with post-traumatic stress disorder. 15% are coming back and they're mentally disabled. See, post-traumatic stress simply means you can never deal with stress again the rest of your life. Whenever you get put under any kind of pressure, you freak out. That's what post-traumatic stress is. Now you see these military veterans that come back with post-traumatic stress, women that are raped, they get post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, when a woman's raped. And when children see stuff that they're not supposed to see, or whenever a kid is beat too hard, it gives them post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, and they can't ever deal with stress again. Now, when you got post-traumatic stress disorder, back in the old days, they had a medicine called lithium, and they gave the medicine lithium, and it worked, but it gave you the squirts, so it messed your bowels up. So they came out with a new medication called Seroquel, and most of the time you get about 100 milligrams. If you got post-traumatic stress disorder, you get around 100 milligrams in the morning, and you take like 300 milligrams at night if you don't have it too bad. And as long as you take that Seroquel morning and night on a regular routine, and you get your rest and you sleep, then you can deal a lot better with post-traumatic stress disorder. That's how the doctors treat post-traumatic stress at the mental institutions. The psychiatrists, that's what they give out to most of the patients that have post-traumatic stress. Now, we see all these military veterans. Every time I go to Gainesville, to the airport, there's one out there in the middle of the intersection, 222, the airport road, and 24. He's sitting on a 5-gallon bucket begging for money and begging for food. And these military veterans, they take all their worldly possessions and they put them in a shopping cart. And they push that shopping cart around and they lay on park benches and live in tents. Our homeless people all across the United States, and these are a bunch of them, are military veterans that we just aren't taking care of the way we should be taken care of. But a lot of times, these people don't want to be messed with. They're out of it. And they're not on the medication that they're supposed to be on. Now, we have a presidential candidate here in the United States. Her name is Nikki Haley. And that's one of the things that she's brought to light during her campaign against Donald Trump. She's a Republican presidential candidate. And that's one of the issues that she's bringing forth today of how to deal with this disabled American veterans that are homeless and how to help these people that are homeless. Now, we turn a bunch of murderers loose, rapists, child molesters, out of our prisons, and they go right back to the communities where they committed the crimes at. And all these children that are seeing murderers, rapists, drive-by shootings, they listen to gunfire all night long, and they see prostitution, they see drug dealing, they see all kinds of criminal activity when they're small. And it's messing a whole generation of children up that are seeing this stuff, and it's giving them post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I want to read to you what God has to say, what to do with a murderer, a rapist, and a child molester. This is Numbers 35. It's also in Deuteronomy 19, 20, 21, and 22. But let's read Numbers 35, and I'm going to tell you what God has to say about a murderer, a rapist, and a child molester. God says send them to him now, not no 25 or 50 years from now. God says send them to him now. You got murderer, murderee. God's got his book of life. He knows exactly what you did. He knows every hair on your head, and he knows exactly what you've done your whole life. He's got that great big mothership up above us with a great big eyeball. You can look on the back of your dollar bill and you can see exactly what it looks like. And God knows exactly what you've done your whole life. And God just wants to know, whether you're going to love him this time or not. That's why God created flesh men. To find out, are you going to love him this time, or are you going to follow Satan? 14,000 years ago, God came back to earth, and he found a third of his children following Satan, called the Katabole. In the Bible, it's called the foundation of this world. And God destroyed everything. Tuhuavuhu means void and without form. So, God wants to know. That's why he created flesh man. He created you in the flesh. We were in the spirit. We were spiritual beings in the first earth age. We weren't flesh. And the animals that were here on earth, duodenum man and all that, Neanderthal man and all these that are in our DNA, they were here in the flesh, but they didn't have a soul in them. God, at conception, when the sperm hits the egg, God sends one soul down from heaven to be born innocent in a water sack, to either love God or follow Satan. Ecclesiastes 12, verses 6 and 7. When the silver cord parts, when the clay pot breaks, when you die, when you're clinically dead, flesh body returns to the clay where it came from, returns to dirt. And the spiritual body returns to God for judgment. And then you either go in Luke 16, you either go to the arms or the bosom of Abraham, the good side of the Gulf, or you go to the bad side of the Gulf, and you're spiritually dead on the bad side of the Gulf. But all the ones on the good side of the Gulf have made it into the eternity. That's the first resurrection. Okay, now I'm going to read Numbers 35 to you. And the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan, across from Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they may give the Levites cities to dwell in from the inheritance of their possessions. And you shall also give the Levites common land around these cities. They shall have the cities to dwell in, and their common land shall be for their cattle, for their herds, and for all their animals. The common land of the cities which you give the Levites shall extend from the wall of the city outward 1,000 cubits all around. And you shall measure outside the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, on the south side 2,000 cubits, on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. The city shall be in the middle. This shall belong to them as common land for the cities. Now among the cities which you will give to the Levites, you shall appoint 6 cities of refuge, to which a manslayer may flee. And to these you shall add 42 cities. So all the cities you will give to the Levites shall be 48. These you shall give with the common land. And the cities which you will give shall be from the possession of children of Israel. From the larger tribe you may give many, and from the smaller you shall give few. Each shall give some of the cities to the Levites, in proportion to the inheritance that each receives. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, when you cross the